Hello, everybody. All right, so yes, as Matt mentioned, I've taken his notes and gone and done. Sorry, get that out of the way for you. Yeah, did a little bit of a news roundup for this month, so maybe a little bit of a different flavor, I suppose. These are the things from Matt's notes and links and whatnot that I found the most interesting. So yeah, there we go. I think Matt's sort of mentioned the tulip a couple of times before, but I thought this video from Floyd Steinberg was really interesting. He goes through getting it set up with a synth application running on it. So for those of you that haven't seen this before, the tulip, sort of a little all-in-one kind of. Actually, I can't remember. Is it an ESP32 on it?
Yeah, ESP32 based, but it's hardware and software. So
yes, yeah. So it's not just, I guess, like some, perhaps systems out there where it's like, oh, here's a cool bit of hardware, but yeah, it's actually also got an extensive sort of software library or libraries, well documented as well. But yeah, got MIDI interfaces, ADCs and DACs, and yeah, little touchscreen USB keyboard input. Which actually that's also pretty cool. I hadn't seen that on a project before, so you don't need to talk to it through the REPL or anything like that. You can actually just plug a USB keyboard straight into it. So kind of like a little computer in that sense. But yeah, in the video, this Floyd gets out a little MIDI keyboard and sets the Julep up as a synth, and yeah. I'm not a musical person, unfortunately, but seeing stuff like this really makes me wish it was, because yeah, that'd be really cool.
It's pretty polished. Yeah, they've got like you can set up like a drum loop in the background, and yeah, it's well worth a watch, that little video.
Yeah, it didn't mean a lot to me, but yeah, there was all sorts of mentions of different kinds of synth and other sort of like input file type things that you use for synths that I can't remember what they're called because it all went in one ear and out the other. But yeah, certainly if you're a musical person at all and you like MicroPython, yeah, definitely check out the Tulip. All right. Yeah, this is also another recap from last month of Viper IDE, which actually Ollie and I played around with a little bit. And in fact, one of the gripes that Ollie had was, interestingly, that it doesn't really have any sort of like auto completion or anything like that. Well, it does now. So, but I guess the really exciting part about that is that it runs, or at least this experimental version of it runs the MicroPython WASM build in the browser. So you can now actually use it to run your little MicroPython snippet in the browser itself. And it also uses that to do linting in the browser as well. So yeah, I guess when we looked at it last month, it was perhaps a bit more like a text editor and a file browser. But yeah, now it's actually becoming more of a fully fledged IDE. Although I did do a little test and the autosave still wasn't working. Yes, so that's yeah, that's one to watch out for.
He has an issue about it though. Yeah. He's being tracked. It's good.
Okay. Oh, good stuff. It's top of the list. Yeah. Yeah, this he says is, I have no idea how difficult that might be to implement or any clue how to do it. So yeah, all right. As Matt mentioned last month, the PyCon AU call for proposals closed Sunday just gone. So if you didn't get your proposal in, too bad. But no, I'm excited for PyCon. I didn't submit a proposal myself, but I know that Matt did. So hopefully, yeah, it'd be cool to see a couple of MicroPython things there. But if not, certainly handy, or at least for some of us here and whoever else online might be nearby to Melbourne. It's happening the 22nd to the 26th of November at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. So yeah, I'll certainly be keen to head along to that. Yeah, great to see it. I suppose at the close of last year's one, they were not sure if there was going to be a PyCon in 2024. So I'm certainly glad that, yeah, looks like there is. All right. I didn't actually put a link for this one. Matt has a book that he got, which he didn't write. No, Simon Monk's Programming ESP32. Did you? I guess the implication was you would bring it along.
I have it packed.
Yeah.
It's at home. But yeah. I'll bring it next month. Yeah. It's a good book for, like, it's a good introductory text. So yeah. Yeah. Could do worse than starting with this book.
Okay. Matt's new hardware. I'm pretty sure that said that last one.
That's still true. So I know I'm off screen, but just quickly, I want to give a shout out to WaveShare, because this package, like, it came to Australia, and then the delivery people lost it somewhere, and we couldn't get in touch with it. WaveShare were good enough to actually resend it out, so that's actually meant to be arriving in the next couple of days. With Australia Post this time is carrying it. So yeah, shout out for WaveShare for doing the right thing there and resending it when it disappeared.
So. All right, looking forward to it. All right, now I love this when I saw the link for this. So Matt's brought his Thumby along before, but I mean, if you haven't been here in person, maybe you've seen them. Certainly, Matt's mentioned it previously. The Thumby is actually, I should have included a picture of that as well. But the original Thumby, an absolutely tiny, like literally the size of your thumb, scaled down version of an original Game Boy, which had fully working, like, playable games and everything on it. I mean, certainly considering I've got pretty big hands, very frustrating to actually try and play said games, but it was incredible that it was even on there at all. Apparently there's going to be a Thumby color, which, if you're sort of the right vintage, you might recognize the shape of that as being kind of like a Game Boy Advance, but obviously significantly smaller. So yeah, no news on it just yet, or at least no date. But yeah, supposedly there will be a Kickstarter campaign for it later in the year. So looking forward to that. I didn't include a link to that either. Oh, that's right, because the link was just a hidden little thing in like a newsletter somewhere. So yeah, anyway, well, I'm sure that'll get mentioned again when it's.
Yeah, the rumor is it'll be early August for that Kickstarter. So
right.
It's probably only a couple of weeks away. Yeah.
So next meetup, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right. I saw this and I thought this was really cool too. I still have yet to actually do anything with one, but I just love the idea of all these ink plate devices. This one different in that it has an 11 frames per second refresh rate, which is clearly far more impressive than I think the previous ones would probably be like half a hertz or something, like like they were or maybe I think it was like 250 milliseconds refresh rate or something like that at best. So yeah, significantly faster. There's some little teaser videos they've got of it playing animations and things like that. So yeah, I suppose that opens the door to different kinds of sort of user interface type applications, which you can't do as elegantly with the previous inkplate devices. One thing I did notice though, that unlike the previous inkplates, this one has an STM32 H743 controller in it, which is obviously entirely different to the ESP32s that drove the previous ones. So I'm guessing that may well mean, if you've got an application that already runs on an inkplate, there might be a little bit more work involved should you want to try and run it on this new one. But they do provide a pretty good sort of software support, so hopefully it wouldn't be too difficult. What else? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I just added this one on the train actually. The WizNet. So WizNet have made a board previously. Well, I mean, you can still get it. That is, I guess, like a Raspberry Pi Pico with their W5500 Ethernet chip on it, and so that they kind of build a thing that's got the same form factor with an Ethernet plug on the end of it. They've now, I guess, gone the next step with that, and they've not exactly sure how. I guess just done a whatever that thing's called, where you could put the two little dies on the same package.
They've licensed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
But, yeah,
even better.
I'm not sure, but
yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, basically, it's notionally an equivalent of having an RP2040 chip with Ethernet built into it, all as one package. So yeah, no release date yet, but supposedly coming soon. So yeah, for I mean, I suppose obviously, there's already Wi-Fi available on the Pico W, but yeah, sometimes Ethernet fills a different segment that that Wi-Fi doesn't quite make it into. So yeah, certainly interesting to see. And then, well, and in fact, he's in the room with us here. Sion, the OMG S3. Oh, he's looking around, is he? You got one?
First of all, I can't find it.
Oh, here, would you? I'll
No,
just.
no.
I'll have to go closer to the camera. Well, anyway, you're probably better off looking at the picture on the screen, I suppose. But
You have a banana? Anyone got a banana?
It is a banana.
yeah, it's tiny. ESP32 S2. Sorry, too many numbers. ESP32 S3. There we go. Yeah, no, but it's
25 by 10.
Yeah, but those numbers look real big.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't do justice.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah. So, where was I going with this? Yeah, tiny new board. I liked your video of you putting it together. That was impressive.
Thank you.
Because in fact, even in the video, it looks, you sort of lose all notion of scale, and it's just like, oh yeah, it doesn't look that hard. And then seeing the thing in person, where it's just like, oh, he's put little like poppy seeds on there, and he's
Right, and then I didn't even think about how I was going to get it off. Get it onto the hot plate. No place to grab it.
Are you selling the carry board as well?
Sorry?
Are you selling the carry board?
I'm going to have I'll have a reference design for a carry board, but I'm going to sell the little, although this is a smaller one, but I'm going to sell a USB adapter.
Yeah. So, folks, this is designed to be soldered down to a board. There's no breakout for it.
Well, it's designed to be soldered down or wires soldered to the back.
Yeah.
Because people have been soldering wires to my Nano S3, which is little tiny 1.27mm castellations, which is insane.
Yeah.
So I made the pads bigger so people can solder to them if they want to. But I'm going to, there's a USB adapter. The new version's got IO0 and reset buttons on it as well. But I'm making there'll be a reference design for a carrier board, so you can use that, and a footprint, you can use that for your own design.
Oh, it's gone.
But I'm also going to make and might sell a pogo adapter that you can flash them with and whatever else is pogos.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
But I don't want to solder all the pogos on myself, so I'll sell it with a little 3D print to hold it and a bag of pogos, and people can solder those on themselves.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah, so that way people can flash them without having to solder a USB or
Really neat little board.
whatever.
Yeah, nice. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, and LilyGo, lots of LilyGo stuff. I didn't get time to write them all up, but I thought I'd just, the magic of the internet. Here we go, LilyGo things.
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, and even since doing the notes, there's 2 more extra new ones, I think.
Yeah.
So there you go. I don't know how these guys find the time. So what is T? Hello. Anyway, explore at your leisure. What does this do?
I think it's
New Halo board. Halo's Wi-Fi, so it's
Oh,
sub
yeah.
1 gigahertz Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and a little battery on the back. Cool. All right, some software news. So the ESP32C6 port has been added to the MicroPython 1.24 milestone, which I guess is there a timeline on that?
There is. I can't remember what the date is, but it's within a month, I think, is the goal.
Okay, soon.
Yeah. And I guess it's also that we don't want to release 124 without that.
Yeah, right.
It is the key thing to mention there.
Cool. There's also a pull request for ESP32C2 support. So if you're interested in these devices, then it'd be great to get some testers looking at and playing around with the trying out that build in the pull request. ESP.
I was just going to say, just related to something I only came out today, but Gus posted something in the Discord chat to look at consolidating the IDF versions to just the 5.22, I think it is, like across the board. So and obviously all the older versions. So if that's going to be a problem for anyone, please check it out in the Discord and sing out. But I think that'll go ahead otherwise.
So we're at the board version.
5.2.2 I say from memory.
Okay.
It's a pretty recent version, and it fixed a whole bunch of bugs that we've been dealing with.
Yeah, it's also introduced a massive slowdown on Wi-Fi on the C6. Like 2-3 times slower.
Okay, let's check the version and
Yeah,
see if it's on.
Problem set Python. That's not Python.
Right, cool.
It's only C6 or and
So maybe it's okay for now.
yeah,
As we-
everything else is working.
The problem is we've got like 3 different IDF versions that we're trying to support, and it's a painful nightmare. So the hope is to try to get to a version
Yeah,
and consolidate out. Yeah, that's right.
No, thank you. Cool. Oh, now I thought this was really cool too, and also just impressive, just as a project in terms of getting a lot done in a short amount of time. Matt sent me this link to this ESP file manager. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. How long has this been around for? I think the first commit was about 8 days ago, something like that. I'm like, all right, well, this guy's not messing around. I did try to find on GitHub like the full names of these people, but yeah, MySpace K and Millie Killer. But yeah, incredible. I haven't played around with it myself, but they've got well, as we can see here, like this little GIF of it. Yeah, it's a web server application that runs on the ESP32 itself, and then is an interactive file manager that you use within the browser, including drag and drop support and all sorts of neat stuff like that. So yeah, for a week's work, that's amazing. So yeah, it's certainly another option for making it easier for, especially perhaps getting started. I can see that being really useful for like an educational setting as well. Not needing to mess around with like, oh, and now you got to put the thing on the board. It's just connected to the Wi-Fi and ready to go. Scroll. I thought this was really cool too. The RP2040 PIO emulator. So yeah, Nathan Young. I think it's been going for a little bit now, but yeah, it's just also I love it. The screenshot here is a Jupyter notebook. If I just scroll down slightly, we can see the bottom of it. I mean, it is a little bit small, but yeah, you can. Well, yeah, I guess like it says, you can emulate running a PIO application, but within Python. I should mention too, this is a Python application, not a MicroPython application, but obviously relevant because of the PIO stuff. Yeah, and then you can, as he's done here in this example, for example, plot the output of what comes out of your PIO application. This is really cool because it lets you do things without needing to depend on the hardware. So, in particular, you can do things like, unit tests for your PIO applications, which actually also, I guess, interestingly, is somewhat a bit of a theme tonight because we're looking at some hardware in the loop testing after this as well. So there we go, another option. Yeah, definitely being able to have things like unit tests for what would otherwise be something that's perhaps difficult to test. Yeah, super useful. There's also a good number of examples in there too, which is always helpful for getting started. All right, what else we got? Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi Press. They've released a new version of their beginner's introduction to the PyPico and MicroPython book, which now targets the Pico W. So that's cool. I got lots of good examples in there of getting started with using Wi-Fi and BLE and things like that. And I guess as usual for the stuff that comes from Raspberry Pi, yeah, it's really nicely done. Graphics and everything like that, well set out and everything like that. They've got yeah, physical copies as well as electronic copies available for sale now. All right, a couple of different projects. Look, Mum, no pixels, a mini vector display. So Nick Moore, the founder of this meetup, in fact, started to write up on his latest project using MicroPython to control a vector display. So a vector display, like it looks like here, it probably has come from an old cathode ray oscilloscope. Instead of having discrete pixels that you shoot a beam at, or more modern, like an LCD with discrete pixels on it. This is just some magnets that control a beam of electrons that light up wherever you happen to steer that thing. And so, yeah, Nick's using MicroPython to control all of the bits of hardware that do magic physics things to, point electrons at their screen and draw shapes with them, which is really cool. And yeah, interesting because although you end up with a similar result to how you would on, say something with a pixel type display, it's actually doing it differently in that this is, say like that, the display on the screen or in the screenshot there, it's tracing that out directly as a pattern rather than, lighting up individual pixels as it scans across. So yeah, really cool. Not something you would really see a lot of these days either. So yeah, cool to see something, a little bit different.
He wants to build a clock.
I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on that one too, because there was what was it? There was some sort of video game from the 80s that was used a vector display like that. Okay, so this is a little bit cheeky because this screenshot isn't actually MicroPython running on this thing, but and in fact, similar theme to last month, which if you're interested, go back and have a look at the links we have there for the smartwatch.
It's fine for everyone else. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, so this guy Sean Toledano on his blog. I liked his sort of starting point of there's for example the Pine watch, but I think that costs like $50 US or something like that, and he thought that was too expensive, so he went about trying to find the cheapest one he could find, through like AliExpress, or in this case TVC Mall, and yeah, it turns out this Colmy P8, this is the official picture of that, is capable of running this Wasp OS. So yeah, he's got a little write-up on the process he went through setting that up. There is also some really good documentation on the Wasp OS website for how to get their system put onto the range of smartwatches that they support. But yeah, this one here, the Colmy P8, works out to be about 30 Aussie dollars. So yeah, which just seems insane to me that it didn't look like the development experience for it was the best. It sort of looked a little bit of a slightly janky process of install some, slightly, well, not questionable, but install an Android app on a phone that then you needed to do something to this, and it wasn't quite the same as just flashing MicroPython on the dev kits that we're kind of used to. So it's certainly not like a developer kit kind of thing, but certainly fun to play around with nonetheless. All right, there was also a write-up from the hardware company Infineon. They've got a pretty detailed blog post using one of their I2S microphone devices running on a Cypress PSOC board. Although I had a quick look through, they've mostly just used other open source type examples from different boards. So I think it should be pretty straightforward to get it running on, say, like the Pi Pico rather than this Cypress board. They use that in this example to use that microphone to create a recording all in MicroPython, and then I think they just send that to a computer or something like that for playback. But a good little example of using I2S devices in MicroPython.
Infineon have also submitted a PR to add a port to MicroPython to support their PSOC devices. So Damien and Jim have been speaking to them about getting that updated to be ready for merger. It'd be nice if we didn't have to use a custom build.
Yeah, I guess also just encouraging to see that other manufacturers are actually on board with, rather than it being a community thing to try and get it to support. It's like they're actually pushing it from their end, which is obviously great to see. All right, I love this one. I don't think MicroPython related, but always cool nonetheless. So Core Electronics written up a pretty extensive guide on using this W-led app to drive either an ESP8266 or an ESP32 connected to an array of addressable LEDs. I guess the reason why they've done the write-up in particular is because they've got a neat little, what they call it, the glow bit matrix, little board that they make. There's plenty of other ones around if you're unable to get that particular one. But yeah, essentially the app, you load some firmware onto the ESP, and then there's an Android or an iOS app that you can put a picture or an animation into, and yeah, it spits out one of these on your screen. Well, rather on your LEDs to make it look like a screen. So yeah, certainly pretty cool, and doesn't require any code at all. Back to a little bit of hardware assembly, I guess, but yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. All right, and then a couple of other just quick little ones that I didn't do a full dive into. A couple of different sort of beginner introductory type tutorials from Random Nerd Tutorials. One on getting started with HTTP GET requests. So this looks like it's pretty, in depth. It goes through first explaining what does that even mean and what is that, and then also, using a PyPico W to do GET requests. I think the example they use is like a weather API, something like that. And then also another one on BLE. So yeah, another good just beginner's introduction to what is Bluetooth, and then how does that differ to Bluetooth low energy, and then using an ESP32 to do a couple of little things. And then I haven't gone through all of this yet, but actually I thought this was interesting too. Don't let MicroPython's garbage collector ruin your program, which I guess, especially once you start writing a sort of larger MicroPython application, obviously one of the nice things, I guess, about MicroPython is that you sort of forget that it is actually a microcontroller, and you think you can just keep writing as though it's on a desktop computer and you've got gigabytes of RAM and everything, but unfortunately we don't. And yeah, sometimes there's some things that can go wrong in perhaps unexpected ways. Yeah, Chris DeHutt from the Making Stuff, with his Making Stuff channel, yeah, goes through, I guess, a real world problem that he had, and sort of how we went about sort of debugging it, figuring it out, and yeah, writing his code to actually work. All right. And then when I started editing the slides, this was already in there, but I thought this was fun. Always consider that your threat model might be incomplete. Was there a story behind this one, Matt? Or?
It was from a software engineer who was doing cybersecurity analysis, and yeah, it was like, okay, that's something we hadn't thought of. So,
someone might drop a piano on it, or someone might do, what was that thing on Friday?
God. That's right.
Yeah, that's the same picture as last month.
Sorry, I was a bit lazy.
Nah. But yeah, that rounds up the roundup.
Yes. Cool. Thank you.
No worries.